it going, folks? My name's Nick. You saw out of the garden cat just walk out here first. That's my co-star. And this is the other permaculture vlog. Sorry about the sunglasses. I'm in and out of the sun right now. Don't know what I'm going to do. Got a couple things to show you guys today. The compost is going to show you the progress on that. I did some planting, I did some harvesting. I just did a couple little projects over the past few days. I just want to show all those off for you guys to show you what I've been up to. So let's just get started. Otto is enjoying his morning dew licking off of the grass here. That's what he likes to do. Bud, enjoying that? Yeah. We'll probably be out here for quite some time doing this while I start doing all the other things. All right, so we've been pretty lacking in rain the past few days, so I actually got up earlier and watered everything this morning. So pretty much all the gardens have been watered already, so that's nice. You can see I've been using some of the water here. This used to be, a little bit more full here. So this has been kind of my watering source for a while. Nice rainwater just right off the roof of here. Still haven't finished this project, but it's a kind of fun one to collect the water off your chicken coop to use for, in this case, I'm watering the plants, but long term it'll be hopefully water for the chickens once I get it a little bit more cleaned up and sanitary, All right, heading to the chickens now here. You can see still have plenty of feed from yesterday. They're much less interested in the feed and way more interested in this compost pile. So just I think last video I was talking about how the issues I was having with this compost pile, and a little bit worried that I was going to it was not going to heat up just because I kept kind of destroying it before it even had a chance to get to the right temperature, right? So I'll leave that video linked above if you want to check it out. But let's take a look at actually what the temperature is. And look at that. We're actually above that 120 mark, above that 50 degrees centigrade mark, which basically is an indication that this is an active compost pile. It wouldn't be considered hot. Hot is going to be considered like between 140 and 165, between like 60 and 75-ish centigrade there. So this isn't really hot, but it is quite active. 120 is like a perfect indicator that you have an active compost pile. The deal here is that it's not going to be killing any of those weed seeds that are in the pile. And if there's any like negative pathogens, it may take a little bit longer for them to be destroyed. But long term, as long as this pile keeps getting turned and lots of aeration is happening, there should likely be very little problem with any sort of these kind of negative organisms long term, because most of those negative organisms are anaerobic organisms. So as long as you have enough oxygen, you keep adding oxygen to the pile by turning it, allowing the chickens to scratch it out, etc. They'll be outcompeted by all the beneficial aerobic organisms. So while it's not going to be hot, there's probably still going to be some weed seeds. This compost is actually doing quite well, even though I did have some problems heating it up. I'll leave that video above too. That was one that we had in this compost pile. This compost pile has been somewhat of a good learning lesson, I guess, for both for me and to be able to teach you guys a little bit what's going on. One of these mamas is enjoying her time right on top of the compost pile here, being king of the castle, seems like, or king of the compost in this case. And yeah, this is what's going on. So I'm actually going to allow, ooh, sorry mama, you're right behind me, I didn't see you. I'm actually just going to allow this compost to sit for another couple days while it's still in its somewhat piled up mode like it is right now, just because they're just going to keep scratching it and moving it around, etc. And since at this point I'm not going to be worrying too much about like the hot compost aspect of it, I'm just going to be turning it probably every 3 to 5 days. I'll probably give it a turn. And usually when I'm in here in the evening, I take the fork and I just repile this pile, just to make sure I have that at least minimum mass requirement there, which is usually about a meter square or a meter cubed of material, although I certainly have less than that here, and you can use less than that. It's just much easier to maintain your pile if you do have at least a cubic meter or about a cubic yard of material. Just a little bit easier to actually maintain that heat without you having to try very hard, without having a perfect recipe for the compost. That's a really good place to start. Compost, pretty good. Chickens, quite happy. I think both of these two young ones are now laying eggs. We've been getting 3 to 4 a day now, and I did see one of them lay an egg last vlog. So pretty exciting that we're actually kind of moving forward with the baby chickens' lives, and they're becoming part of the laying family. It's kind of exciting because we like to have the eggs. That's one reason we keep these chickens, and especially the females. Let's take a look here. Look at that, 4 eggs, and I just harvested yesterday. So you're basically doubling our egg production over You know, obviously it took some time for them to actually get to the point where they were actually producing, but it was just overnight, or pretty much from last week to this week, we've now doubled our egg production. So really exciting. And that's pretty much 4 to 6 eggs a day is kind of what we'd like to have ideally. So we're right in that range now. So pretty exciting. Check out Otto right in his little spot here. Actually, I have a picture, I think, from yesterday where he was pretty much completely fast asleep in this little spot. This has been his kind of new go-to area in the garden while I'm working out here. So pretty fun to see him just chilling, enjoying his cat life while I'm doing all the talking. Once again, the co-star slacking, or it's some of you like to say he's the star and I'm the co-star, and maybe I'm slacking. I don't really know. I don't know how I could be slacking. I'm doing all the work here. So I guess that's maybe what the star does, just this cameos, and then the stuntman does all the work. So maybe that's what's going on here. So I cleaned up this garden again. It wasn't really super dirty, but I did clean it up a little bit. And then I transplanted a bunch of these spring onions, or green onions, or whatever you call them in your area. So those all got put in here. I did seed these and some of them came up, but not so many. I had a whole bunch in the greenhouse, so I just put all these in. And I also harvested turmeric from this plant right here. Really, there was like 2 plants next to each other, but it was really just this main one plant here. And that one plant right here, I think I actually have some videos, so I'll roll that while I'm talking about it. But I basically took a garden fork and kind of lifted that whole plant out after cutting off the top of the plant, just to make it a little bit easier to move around, etc. And once I got that out, you know, obviously it was covered in soil, and I don't want to lose that soil. So what I did is I brought it over to a big old bin, and then on that bin, I basically took apart all the rhizomes there, all the turmeric, the part that you're actually harvesting. I took all those apart slowly, and within that bucket, so I could actually catch all the soil that was left there. So basically, I don't want to lose any soil. By keeping it in that bucket, it allows me to save a lot of the soil that otherwise would have just been washed away when I was cleaning the turmeric. So that's always my first step when I'm harvesting something like that has a lot of that takes a lot of soil with it. So after I did that, I just kind of washed it all off and got them nice and looking good. And then the final result was about just over 5 pounds, over 2 kilograms of turmeric from basically one plant. There was a small plant next to it, but there's barely anything on that one. So really excited, really happy about that. It was amazing to see the abundance that one turmeric plant provided. I'm very happy about it. And now we have plenty of turmeric. There's also still 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 turmeric plants right along this row. Oh, sorry, make that 6. There's one over here too. So these guys are still in the production phase. I haven't seen any of these flower yet. That's why I haven't harvested them. I try to wait for them to flower to get through that cycle first before I start harvesting, just because then I know they've actually gone through kind of their full expression. And these guys have not done that yet. The other thing we did this week is, if you look up here, this moringa tree from a while back, I think in the sun sectors video, you'll see it really well. So I'll leave that one linked above. But in that video, you'll see there's another branch that came down over this way. There's a bunch of small ones that were kind of crowding up this whole area right here. And so I actually came down and cut all these down, because we are in the winter time. This is a good time to actually do that kind of pruning, because there's plenty of decent amount of rain. We actually haven't been having a lot of rain now, but it's cooler. It's not going to completely shock the tree as if in the middle of summer when I'm taking everything away. So it's we took all that down. So all of these gardens now have much more sunlight for pretty much probably added 2 or 3 hours of sun just by doing that for most of these upper garden beds up here. So this garden bed here, and then these 2 down here, especially, these guys were getting a little less sun than I really wanted them to, and that's why I ended up pruning back this tree a little bit. So this tree, this is a moringa, so it's going to keep regrowing and regrowing. You can see up here something I cut a while back, these little sprouts right there. These guys are all just kind of new branches that are trying to start. So it won't be too long before we see that. I think for pretty much the entire tree. So I'm not really too worried about not having moringa. In fact, I had a huge harvest of moringa when I did that process a little bit earlier this week. We also harvested coconuts from this tree. We included, not only did we get coconuts, we also got a whole bunch of baby trees that I basically leave down here. So you can see here, this is my little coconut tree nursery. So all these guys, and we took, I don't know, it was probably at least 10, maybe almost 20 trees from out of here, and we still probably have at least 10 in here. And then we have all of these coconuts right here. Pretty exciting. And on top of that, we have another bunch right up here. And the folks up the hill at Hacienda Rosa, Rio, came down and helped me harvest all this stuff, and they took 2 or 3 bunches as well. So huge harvest of coconut. Really excited. We love coconut, especially coconut water, and also the chickens love coconut, especially the meat inside. The chickens love that. So I cut it open, put it in there, and they go crazy for it. So really cool to see that, and really cool to be able to provide that all right on site. So we've actually had no water the past like day and a half. Right now it's just coming in a trickle, but we don't really know what's going on. It's fairly common here in Puerto Rico to lose water for, you know, a few hours, half a day, maybe even a whole day, but it's been rare that we've had it for more than one day, and that's what's happening right now. So it's a little bit, not concerning per se, because we are prepared, but it's kind of, you know, just annoying. It makes life a little bit harder to get everything done. Luckily though, right before all this happened, I actually installed just a small spigot from the line that goes up to the tank on the roof, and I hadn't had this here before, and I'm not sure why, because it would be very useful for quite a few things. But right here, this basically allows us to have at least some sort of water when there's no water from the city. Just have a nice little hose and an end here so I can spray and actually use that to do all the watering this morning, because I did want to water because we haven't had too much rain. So I actually was able to water all the plants this morning just from the tank on the roof, even though we don't have any water coming right now from the city. So good to have a backup water supply, especially when you're trying to get production going, because if you slack on that water, the plants can really suffer long term. Obviously, I like to water at least every other day. I try not to water every day to give them a chance to actually put their roots down and find water deep down that they can use, and not be reliant on me watering every single day. So that's another important thing. If you water every single day and the exact same time and all that, they're just gonna get so dependent on that it's gonna be hard to allow them to actually grow those deep roots. So nice deep water every other day or so. That's usually one of the better ways to water if you do need to water, if you don't have enough rainfall. So the chayote seems to be growing up right there. It seems to be good. Here's all the winged beans. They're starting to spread around looking for their trellises. So I might need to add some more in here, but I think that this area right here should work just fine for them to grab onto. And then I do have a little trellis on this post here, but I might add a couple more just to give it something else to grab onto to make sure that we get that going. And Katie's been doing a lot of weeding in her garden areas. We don't really have specific areas where we both take care of, but we tend to have specific areas where Katie likes to make this area look good, and I like to make all this look good. So Katie did some weeding this past few days, and resulting in a whole bunch more material down here. So right now it's just kind of acting as a big mulch, but all this will end up becoming compost long-term, or mulch long-term, or whatever it ends up becoming. Just a lot of material, and this is kind of the staging ground these days for all that material. Had a nice harvest of these Asian greens the other day, and they're already starting to put out huge new leaves, lots of brand new fresh growth. So really cool to see that. Remember guys, the more you harvest, the more food you're going to get. So keep on harvesting when things are ready to harvest. It's really easy for me to forget that. I'll just like, oh look, they look great, I'll just leave them. And it's better to actually keep harvesting it so you keep getting more and more growth. This garden's looking really good. I'm really happy about it. The tomatoes in the back there, they're doing quite well. Starting to grow up a little bit tall. All of the basil down here, each 1, 2, 3, 4, all these basil looking good, and all the Asian greens that I interplanted all throughout here are really interseeded. They're all taking. So really cool to see. Excited to see how this bed ends up producing and what kind of harvest we get from it. Here's the sleepy kitty. Yeah, you sleepy lazy kitty, bud. Yeah, big stretch. Yeah, good boy. Good boy. He's so lazy though. So yeah, that's pretty much what I got going on here. It's been kind of busy. I've been doing a couple kind of errands for keep our car up and running and everything. So I haven't had too much time to spend back here, but we have gotten quite a bit done. So it's always nice to see that progress, even if you're not back here too much. Really happy about that. All right, I think that's it for me today. It's gonna be a nice short one for you guys. It's been a while, I think, since we had an actual decently short one. So I guess you're welcome, or if you're a fan of the longer ones, sorry about that, but I'm sure I'll have many longer ones to come. So have no fear there. It'll be back. It'll be back. So yeah, if you do like what I'm doing, please subscribe to the channel and maybe share a video or two if there's one that you really like. Sharing those videos really helps me get the word out there and get more people to get eyes on the channel. That's what's going to really help me grow long term. So I really appreciate that if you have the time or the energy, or if you have a group that would be interested in anything that I'm doing. So really appreciate you guys, and until next time, have a good one.